Hello everybody, Mark here over at 100% Pure Elvis. Thank you for taking the time out to return to my channel today. And if you are new to the 100% Pure Elvis channel, welcome to the 100% Pure Elvis family. What I'm going to talk to you all about today is the 1 year anniversary of my channel. The first thing that I want to say is a massive thank you to each and every one of you who have subscribed to the channel and are consistently commenting on my uploads and consistently give me the support that I need in getting this channel growing. I really do appreciate the support. As you are all aware, I started this channel to give me some confidence because my confidence wasn't the best last year. I really struggled. I'd recently lost my job and I was in the process of moving house with my husband. So it was a very stressful time and Elvis got me through it. And I thought to myself, I wanted to give back my love of Elvis to people similarly like myself who are avid Elvis collectors and also might struggle in their day-to-day life. And the last year, there still has been some difficulties along the way in my personal life with my mum and stepdad, etc. But the support of every one of you on this channel has been immense. You will not underestimate the help and support you have given me. And I absolutely always look forward to doing new uploads each and every week, whether it's one upload a week, 2, 3, 4 or 5. I always do my best to do a new upload, possibly once every couple of days, because I'm very conscious that I don't want to overwhelm you all with the uploads. And you are all aware that my channel has now been monetized by YouTube. And again, I wasn't in it for that. I was in it for the love of Elvis and sharing my love of Elvis. Now, to date, I've got nearly 1,450 subscribers. So for me, within the space of a year, I am really happy with the growing number of Elvis fans that are coming to my channel. And let's hope that number keeps on growing. And everyone who has joined the channel has the love of the Elvis family around them and the love of the 100% Pure Elvis family around them. Now, what I also wanted to talk about is recently I was asked by one of my subscribers. Now, again, I don't know if this person is young, middle-aged or a bit older, but they were talking to me about being a new Elvis collector and where do you start in collecting Elvis. It's a very, very difficult question to answer, I felt anyway. And my answer was start where you're more comfortable with. I mean, because when I started collecting Elvis, I started collecting CDs, books, magazines, etc. I didn't start collecting records until into the millennium, because when I was like in my 20s and it was CDs mainly, and Elvis was on record as rare and in between. Obviously, you could get the first pressings from the 50s, 60s, 70s, but I started collecting Elvis on CD, and any information I could get on Elvis, any book, any magazine, I'd add it to the collection. And over time, my collection has grew. And for me, you know, people have asked me previously, you know, can you remember the first Elvis song you listened to? No, I can't, because again, I've always said it, my mum always had Elvis on in the house. When we were all growing up, she always played Elvis. So Elvis was always on. And again, Elvis has always been important in every generation of my family. My mum, my older brother, who has now sadly passed away, he was an Elvis fan. And then I'm an avid Elvis collector. my twin brother is a fan, but not as big as myself. He doesn't collect Elvis, but he appreciates Elvis and the music. And but for me, you know, I've always said it. You know, when you're a new follower of Elvis, or you're new to the Elvis music scene, I don't know how to get that across. I think if you're new to Elvis as a man, amazing. You know, the more the better. And I think Elvis has always been relevant. Elvis will always be relevant. Is still relevant. And again, you know, you hear stuff about some of these big name artists that are on tour now that are outperforming. Okay, that's fine. We are in a different era now to what Elvis was in back then. When Elvis was with us, absolutely broke record upon record upon record, and no one can touch him in my eyes. And for me, then we get on to the music. And for me, I was saying to this guy online, you know, where'd you start? He was asking, where'd you start with the music? Is there a certain area you start with? Again, it's difficult because you all have favourites, don't you? And for me, many subscribers to my channel will be very aware that I was mainly brought up on Elvis music of the 70s. So my go-to era was always the 70s. And then maybe the 60s and 50s. But again, some people would say, well, hold on, you know, Elvis, what about, you know, the rock and roller of the 50s, where it all started? And, you know, and I totally agree with that, because I came very late in my appreciation of Elvis music from the 50s. And I will be honest with that. But for me, being an Elvis collector, if you are a new Elvis collector and you're looking at where do you start in the music side of Elvis, I'd say 50s. Just go straight to the beginning of his career, because again, you get to see the artist that Elvis was and turned out to be. And for me, people say when it came to the 60s, Elvis got lost. And do I agree or disagree? I tend to agree and disagree. I think for me, tended to get a bit lost in the movies, and obviously, especially the mid 60s, his singles wasn't performing as well on either side of the Atlantic. And again, and that was through no fault of Elvis. He was contracted to do the movies. He was contracted to do the soundtrack albums. And when Elvis broke out of the movies, he did the gospel albums. He did other albums which performed not as well, believe it or not. And so again, it's difficult, because then you get to the 68 special, and as you are all aware, it was called the Comeback Special. I don't like it being called the Comeback Special, but in a kind of way it was, because Elvis had disappeared from the psyche of the music buying public. So getting that NBC television show in that black leather put him back where he belonged, at the top. And again, I'll always, well, obviously, you know, when I started being an avid collector of Elvis and started reading about Elvis, I am a font of information, especially on chart information. I love looking at what number did that song reach in the charts, how long was it in the charts for, how did that album perform in America to how it performed in the United Kingdom. People might think, God, you're a bit weird on that, but that's what I was like growing up. I mean, I wanted everything on Elvis, and I wanted everything in me, and in regards to how different Elvis performed on either side of the Atlantic. And I'll always remember reading that when If I Can Dream was released as a single, after the 68 special, you know, it only reached number 11 on either side of the Atlantic. And do you know what? I remember when I read that, I just thought, why didn't that do any much better? Personally, I think it's because of the type of song it was. But again, absolutely stunning song that should have performed better. But then you get into the late 60s, you get into the early 70s, and again, that's where it all begins to blow up again for Elvis. He's huge, and people realise how special this man was. So for me, when I was talking to this guy online, I was just talking about, number one, you get this straight into your collection. The King of Rock and Roll, the complete 50s Masters. Great starting point, isn't it, for any Elvis collector? If you are new to the Elvis music and you're looking at, I want to know everything about Elvis music, start at the beginning, get the 50s Masters into your collection and listen to every single one of the CDs or records, and you will see the power that this guy had at such a young age. And again, we've all got our favourites from the 50s. I mean, my favourite is I Need Your Love Tonight. And again, I absolutely adore Crawfish. But again, you just can't go wrong with the King of Rock and Roll, the complete 50s Masters, can you? So again, I always would say to anyone new to the Elvis music genre, get started with the 50s. The King of Rock and Roll, get to where it also started happening. And again, you won't be disappointed, will you? I don't know if you agree or disagree with me on that. And again, and then you got then you go to obviously to the 60s. Now, obviously, this isn't the movie songs from the 60s. This is the studio tracks from the 60s. You got the other box set that came out as the follow-up to this, which had the movie songs on it. But again, the Essential 60s Masters one, again, you got some great songs from the 60s that Elvis recorded. And again, I can't choose a favourite. It's just so difficult. But again, you're seeing a different side of Elvis. He's more poppy. There's more emotional songs on it. And again, the difference in style between the 50s Masters, the King of Rock and Roll, and the Essential 60s Masters, and from Nashville to Memphis, it's a huge difference. And I just think that is the power of the man himself. He changed with the music taste that had changed. He went into the army. He came out of the army. Music tastes had changed. He had to conform, because if he would have continued going down the road of rock and roll, it wouldn't have worked. And I think that was a master stroke from the Colonel. Comes out the army, Fame and Fortune, Stuck on You, etc. Get pop charts. It's Now or Never. You would never have heard them in the 50s, would you? That's so you would never have done them in the 1950s, because it wasn't of that era. So again, next one is the 60s, and then you're going on to the final era, the 70s. Walk a Mile in My Shoes, the Essential 70s Masters. And again, personally, my personal opinion, I think Elvis's voice is stronger than ever in the 1970s. Some people might say, oh, God, no, the 1950s, he could belt out anything. But, for me, I'm really passionate about the music from the 1970s. For me personally, I don't think Elvis sounded any better than the 1970s. Absolutely an array of all styles of music from the 1970s. He went back to some rockers. He had still some emotional songs there. He had some upbeat songs, some poppy songs. He could sing anything. So I'm ranting on a bit, but for me, it was the Elvis in the 70s. For me, I just felt it was everything Elvis should have been. He was the master of his own voice. He was the master of what he wanted to record and what he wanted to do on stage. I mean, obviously, I wish he would have maybe changed some of his concerts, like the set list more. But I just feel, when you come to start collecting Elvis, has to start with the music, doesn't it? Because even when you hear people talking about Elvis still to this day, they talk about the music. They don't talk about the movies. They talk about the music. And do his movies get a raw deal? Yes, of course they do. And but let's not forget, we are so fortunate as Elvis fans to have Elvis on celluloid. He did over 30 movies, and we have that we can watch over and over again as fans. And then you got the 68 special, you got Aloha from Hawaii. I mean, unfortunately, I don't think the 77 special should have been recorded. But then, I think even when you see some of the 77 CBS special, I still think Elvis is in great voice. And for me, his voice never left him, did it? Let's be honest with you. I mean, I've read some books where some so-called fans or so-called girlfriends of Elvis have said, he lost his voice was failing him. No, it wasn't. Again, there were some concerts that he performed in better than others, but I think his voice never left him. So for me, and then we started talking about movies and soundtracks to the movies. And again, the soundtracks had to go hand in hand to the movies, didn't it? Because again, we all know that Elvis wanted to be a serious actor. He didn't want to be a musical actor where he was singing songs in the movies. There was no getting away from it, unfortunately. I think Elvis was probably blinded by that and very foolish to think, I'm going to be an actor without having to sing in any of my movies. It was going to happen. And, again, there's some great movies that Elvis acted in. My early favourite is King Creole. Great movie, great acting, probably my favourite Elvis movie where he acted in. My favourite Elvis movie, as you all know, is Change of Habit. And again, when I was talking to this guy online about that, he was asking, why is Elvis's last motion picture your favourite? I don't know. For me, it was the impact it had on me the very first time I watched it. Blue Hawaii was always my favourite because it was always on TV, and my mum used to always watch it, and the soundtrack would always be on, and I'd always watch it with my mum. So it was my favourite, and it's still my mum's favourite to this day. But I'll always remember watching Change of Habit for the first time, and it had quite a big impact on me. I don't know why, and it's my favourite movie to this day, and that will never change. I've got a soft spot for Live a Little, Love a Little. But again, when I was talking to this guy online about Elvis movies, I said that again because I have told him about my channel, and I'm hoping you've subscribed, by the way. But for me, again, it's all about. I'm always honest. There's some movies of Elvis that I just do not like. I don't enjoy them, and I think you can see that Elvis is not enjoying it either. But again, then we got on to gospel. And again, I'm a great believer in that was Elvis's favourite type of music. And I think we all know that Elvis absolutely adored gospel. And, I think if Elvis was still with us or lived longer, I think he would have done a lot more gospel recordings than ever. Because, for me, gospel, when you sit down and listen to Elvis gospel, it's just gets you in a place where you feel in a special place, don't you? And I'm just in awe. I'm just in awe of his gospel music. I'm in awe of all of his music. But when I've had a bad day, or when I want to calm down, or if I just want to put myself in the zone, I get on Elvis Gospel, because again, I'm not. I don't really like saying a lot about myself. I'm not overly religious. My mum is, but but listening to Elvis Gospel, it gets me in a place where I feel there's something special, and Elvis makes me feel that way. Um, but again, then we got talking about the impact that Elvis can have now and can have going forward. And I started talking about, well, just look at the Elvis movie that was released recently with Austin Butler. Look at the impact that had, brought Elvis to a newer generation. You were getting young people going to the cinema to watch the movie, to watch the life of the man himself, and won rave reviews around the world. And again, people were surprised at this, especially my friends. It took me quite a while to watch that movie. I actually didn't go to cinema to watch it. I actually watched it with a good friend of mine who's a Elvis fan as well, and my husband. And my husband is not an Elvis follower, but even he enjoyed it. He said it was a great movie, and he was asking me, is it true to life? It is both, isn't it? I think it's political license there, isn't it? But for me, being an Elvis fan, it for me, there's never a better time to be an Elvis fan or to be a new Elvis fan. And you can go out there and purchase Elvis like really cheaply. You can get cheap records, CDs, books, DVDs are cheap. I mean, nowadays you can DVDs, Blu-ray, they're really cheap to get a hold of. And so again, you don't have to pay high prices if you start collecting Elvis. And this is what I was trying to get across, because people like myself are in a fortunate position where I've been collecting Elvis since the late 80s, early 1990s. So that's why my collection has grew so much over the years. But I was saying to this guy online, believe it or not, my collection has probably only grown significantly, I would say possibly over the last 10 years, believe it or not, because before I met my husband, I didn't really have a big Elvis collection. I had my collection. I had mainly DVDs, CDs, books. I didn't have records. I had no Elvis records, believe it or not. The only Elvis record that I had two. I had the Presley, the all-time greatest hits, and I had the I can't remember what it's called. The arcade one, the gatefold from 75, I believe, and that was given to me from my auntie. But I didn't have a record player, so I couldn't play them. But they always sat there with my Elvis collection, and I only started collecting Elvis records maybe 12 years ago, I would say. And as I was saying, I've possibly got over 250 now, and some people would say, God, that's quite a small collection. And it is. I mean, it possibly is to some other Elvis collectors, but I'm quite happy with the collection that I've got. And but I just wanted to kind of reiterate that being an Elvis collector, I'm someone that absolutely, I'm very conscious in what I'm buying. I'm very aware that I'm very fortunate to be able to purchase something if I want to add it to the collection. And I don't buy everything. There's a lot of stuff that I will look at and I think, no, I think that's too expensive. No, I don't really need to add that to my collection. And then I was also talking to this guy about confidence, and I was going on about my confidence and about how each and every one of you, even though I don't know you all personally, have made my confidence grow. And that's because of my love about talking about Elvis with you and sharing my collection. And again, there's an awful lot of Elvis channels that just share new releases that come on the market. I'm someone that I will just share my collection. I will share something that I've had in my collection for years, because for me, that's what my channel is about. And when I purchase anything new to my collection, I get it uploaded. But because there's vinyl out there that is 20, 30, 40 years old, and people don't share it on their channel. Me, absolutely love sharing it, and I know you all enjoy watching it, and I think for me personally, going back to confidence, it that comes from within, and I think it was my partner that kind of pushed me to start the channel, because he started his art channel, and he said, well, why don't you do something similar about Elvis? And I just thought, what can I bring? What can I do? And he said, talk about your collection, share your collection, share your love of Elvis. And, I watched some channels at that time last year that were specific YouTube Elvis channels. And I really enjoyed watching them. But what I saw the missing thing was, they wasn't sharing old records, or they were only sharing new books, new releases, new box sets. And that's great. If that's their channel, fantastic. And I think people really enjoy it. And I thought, there's something missing there. I want to share my old collection. I want to share the new stuff that I'm buying as well. And I want to share, even the littlest things in my collection. And, and people have really enjoyed it over the past year. And I really appreciate that. And I think, again, I do have to say something before I sign out. I'm really, really, really a shy person. And, Gina over at Patrick Katz Plays for Elvis Fans, she's really been giving me the confidence to be able to do a live link soon. And I think it's got to be right for me. And I think I don't want to sit here and say to you lot, I promise I'll get that done this weekend or next weekend, because I want to be able to speak to you all on a live link with you asking me questions, and let's have an open forum. And I want to be able to give you that special time, and I will get it done. I will promise you. And I'm looking at getting some merchandise together, because there's some duplicates I've got in my collection that I really, really feel some people would love to add to their collection, or new Elvis fans to get started in their collection. And that's why I've got these three here. So these three here are the slimmed down versions of the box sets itself. They're exactly the same as the originals, but they are just a slimmed down version in a slimmer box. To me, I'm going to get these in a raffle, and like as a start, as so someone who is new to the Elvis collectors market has a great opportunity to start with these three great box sets. And and I think I'm going to possibly get that done within a month, because the sooner I get it done, the better. And then we'll look at doing regular live links, maybe one a month, and we'll have a chat about how the channel's doing, which direction do you think I need to go into, is there anything missing from the channel? And so for me, again, I was really happy when I was having a chat with this guy online the other night, and I love talking all things Elvis, and I will always give my personal opinion. And for me, what I've got across to him is start at the 50s. So, get started on the 1950s, the rock and roll Elvis, where it all began, and then go through the 60s, get to the 70s, and then obviously, obviously you got your gospel along the way. There is so much Elvis out there, and I've also just be aware of it, there's a lot of Elvis on the market that it's saturated, isn't it? That you just, and it's not true Elvis. And so what I've said to him is buy the official releases, like especially the box sets. You don't need to buy the deluxe CDs first. Just get these box sets purchased first. This is how Elvis was. This is how the songs were meant to sound like. And again, and I said about books because, some people buy books because it's an Elvis book. I want to add it to my collection. Fantastic. I do that. I don't buy every book on Elvis because there's too many. But again, I'm very fortunate to have some great books in my collection. My favourite books, which you will all know by now, are the Elvis Files, the whole set of Elvis Files books. You won't better them. And my favourite books, I like Peter Guralnick's books. Oh, just great read. So again, I said to this guy, your starting point on the books, if you're a reader, Peter Guralnick, Last Train to Memphis, Careless Love. And then if you're looking at picture books, the Elvis Files books, they're out of print. Very difficult to get a hold of and very expensive. You can get cheap books on eBay that has Elvis photos in with him on tour. I mean, I purchased one about 2-3 years ago, and I think I paid about £10 for it. Perfect condition. Great photos of Elvis inside. Or go on to I've said to him, go on to Amazon. There's some great books on Elvis with photos. So I think Ed Bonyer's book, amazing. That's still available. We'll Remember You. You should go to Strictly Elvis online. I said that to him. Go to Strictly Elvis online. That book's still available. And you'll always pick up cheap books on Elvis that have great images, photos inside, and magazines. I mean, again, what I was saying was, you don't get as you all know, Elvis Monthly is folded. So magazines on Elvis, again, you can get them relatively cheap. Whenever you go to a charity shop or a second-hand shop, you always tend to find an Elvis book in that section or an Elvis magazine. And again, that's a good starting point. So again, I just wanted to sign out this by saying, look, thank you all for the last year. Thank you all for supporting my channel. And thank you for putting up with me. And let's go forward together. And again, so for me, the starting point for any Elvis fan who's new to his music, it just has to be these, doesn't it? Along with the maybe a box set of his gospel music, and and then maybe a box set of his soundtracks. So again, thank you all for listening to me over the last half an hour. I hope I've not rambled on too much, and thank you for taking the time out. A few vinyls that I just quickly wanted to share with you before I signed out, because the guy in question was asking me, have you got any favourite vinyls that you've added recently to your collection? So if you have subscribed to the channel, I'm just going to show you a few that I've picked up this year that I'm really happy that I've added. It's not all of them, by the way. I've purchased a lot over the last year, but I've just got a few out to share with him and to you lot. And first one, Elvis Presley Live on gorgeous white vinyl, and this was Mid-South Coliseum, Memphis, July 1976. That's a 2LP edition. This was a great gift from Gina over at Patrick Cat's Place for Elvis fans. Elvis Rockin' On, Volume 2, again, 2LP edition, gatefold. Absolutely stunning. Next, this was relatively cheap. A deep red coloured vinyl, Girls, Girls, Girls. I was so happy to get this into my collection. Reconsider Baby on gorgeous blue vinyl. Love that image of Elvis on the front there. My favourite volume within the Gold Record series, Volume 5, on the Friday Music label. Again, this comes on gorgeous, like tangerine orange coloured vinyl. Again, another favourite of mine that I've picked up over the previous year. A recent addition is the record store day release on 3LP, 3 different coloured LPs inside. You got like a silver, a pink, and a black. I love that, stunning. Again, volume 1 of Elvis rocking on. All great images of Elvis, isn't it? So again, the definitive country album. That's what I forgot to mention. You know, when you talk about genres of music with Elvis, country music, it's just, the list goes on, doesn't it? For me, I love country as well. It's just, I forgot about that. I'm really disappointed. So if you're watching, we'll have a discussion about the country music next. I'll message you tomorrow. Picture disc of Jailhouse Rock, Viva Las Vegas. You all know, I love my picture discs. Another picture disc, I Can Help, another great hits. So again, if you are watching the channel, and again, this is another starting point, picture discs, there's so much Elvis records out there, gorgeous picture discs, and some of them can be quite expensive, but just watch the sort of money you are spending, because again, as I was saying to the guy the other night, you can spend an awful lot of money. So, you know, you just limit yourself on, right, this is what I want to spend this month, and this is what I can afford this month. And if you go to a record fair, you'll see so many Elvis vinyls that you are wanting, and you might not be able to afford every single one of them. Just give yourself a limit and think, right, no, I think I possibly can leave that one. And then you've got Are You Lonesome Tonight? Comes with a everlasting Elvis Presley calendar. One of my favourites that I've purchased over the last year, on gorgeous blue vinyl for LP fans only, on the Music on Vinyl label. Limited edition numbered copy. And I've chosen this one because this was one of the very first CDs I purchased from 1992. And the CD version has a lot more tracks on it than what the album does. But at that time, as I was saying earlier, I wasn't purchasing Elvis on record. I was only purchasing Elvis on CD. And over the years, I never came across this on record. And then I seen it on sale on eBay. I placed a bid and I won the bid. So happy to get this added into my collection. This is really special to me because I've been after it for so many years. So again, from the heart. So that's some of my favourite records that I've added to my collection this year. There's a lot more. So again, thank you all for taking the time to listen to me today. I hope you've enjoyed this upload. Please leave any comments below and I'll reply to you all as soon as I possibly can. Keep an eye out for more uploads coming real soon. As always, please keep Elvis close to your hearts. Please keep on playing his music. Love to you all. Speak soon, everybody. Bye-bye.